today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
They believe their teenage son
He has gotten into my wife's face, screaming at her.
I don't get in her face.
is a ticking time bomb.
Kicked out of private school, military school.
He's angry because we've called the cops on him.
He says he doesn't have an anger problem.
You pushed me down the stairs.
You're psychotic.
You say, when I hear of the worst mass shooter, I think of you, son. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Well, Lena wrote to me 30 times. 30 times she wrote, saying she is desperate for help with her 15-year-old son, Cole, who was kicked out of public school, private school, and then finally military school. Now, Lena claims the commandants at the military academy deemed Cole incorrigible and unteachable. Now, Lena says Cole vandalized their home and was sent to live with his great-grandmother. But he was kicked out after showing up drunk at 5 a.m. The police were called. A few weeks later, his parents sent Cole to a mental health facility because he didn't like his Christmas presents. Now, he eventually ended up living at Grandma's house. That lasted 10 days. He is now couch surfing with friends because Lena and Josh say Cole is too dangerous to come home. Take a look.
My 15-year-old son, Colton, is angry and full of rage.
He has gotten in Lena's face, and I mean screaming like he's going to knock her out.
Give me my phone.
You're going to have to go outside if that's how you're going to act.
Stop sitting there and ignoring me. Give me my phone.
No.
Yes.
His fist balled like this, and you can see veins start pulsing out of his chin. He keeps on and keeps on and keeps on.
He will get in my face. He will throw down chairs or bar stools. He's very intimidating.
Get out. At this point, I could literally call the police on you and have you taken to jail.
Do it.
He shows no remorse. None. He laughs and smirks about it. You look into his eyes and he's cold as ice. Cold as ice. We keep finding a knife under his pillow. He's jabbed holes all through the bed frame. He's taken BB gun and shot holes all through the walls in his room. My worst fear is I come home and find Lena in a pool of blood laying on the ground.
Colton has been kicked out of 2 schools, most recently the military academy. While Colton was at the military academy, he got in trouble a lot. He put some urine on another cadet's pillow. Right now, he's not allowed to live at my house, mainly because he has no respect for me or his brothers. For the last 9 months, he has basically been house surfing from his grandmother's house to my in-laws' house, and then he stayed at a couple of his friends' house for a week. I don't know where my son is living.
We cannot have him in our house at this time.
You're making me feel unsafe in my own house.
He is too dangerous for our other kids and my wife.
I'm at the point where I just have to kind of wash my hands of Colton and turn him over to other people.
Okay, I'm glad to meet y'all. I'm sorry you're feeling in a desperate position here, but I'm glad we're talking about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you afraid for your wife?
I'm afraid for all 3 of them, but mostly my wife.
And you're afraid what's going to happen?
I'm going to come home and she's going to be laying on the ground, half conscious, laying in blood.
All right. Has he been violent with your wife before?
Well,
has he attacked
he has
his brother?
gotten into her face to the point where they were nose to nose, screaming at her, fist balled, veins popping out the side of his head, to where he has raised his hand to where I've had to come across the room and jump in.
All right, and what triggers this?
Anytime I tell him no over anything.
He won't even acknowledge me.
Why?
He thinks I'm the root of the problem. He wants me out of the equation so he can basically bully Lena and get exactly what he wants.
Okay, now, you are his adoptive father.
Yes, sir.
From age 7.
Yes, sir.
And his biological father has been gone since infancy.
Since he was 6 months old.
Okay. Why is he so mad at you two?
I think he has a lot of resentment built up for his biological father, because he's never reached out or tried to find him. And he's angry at us because we've called the cops on him. I've had him marchman acted because he was drinking so much and smoking pot and all of this stuff. He just is letting it build up. He's still mad about things that happened 6 months ago.
Well, he says he doesn't have an anger problem.
Well,
and I made a list of the behaviors that you guys say are really questionable on his part. According to you two, you say he's disrespectful.
Yes.
He lies, doesn't follow rules, and if you give him punishment, he just blows it off, does what he wants to.
That's right.
Correct.
You say that he has destroyed furniture, mattresses, walls, shoots BB guns into the walls, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Drinks, smokes marijuana, has a vape pen. He's just 15.
Yes.
15.
That he's violent and bullies his 10-year-old brother, calls him fat and ugly, hit him with a golf club, chipped his tooth. Was that intentional, or was that an accident?
I think that was probably an accident.
Okay, well, accidents.
I don't believe so.
You think he did it on purpose?
Yes. Everything Colton does is calculated.
Okay. And you say he sleeps with a knife under his pillow?
Yes, sir, a pocket knife.
Why?
I can't answer that. I've asked him numerous times, and he just says, "Oh, I just put it there."
Did he gut the bed with that knife?
I don't know with that knife, but he cut the center of his bed out, about a 4-foot diameter hole out of the center of his bed.
And then he shoved stuff in there, and that was his hiding spot.
And he's been suspended from public school for fighting.
Yep.
Yes.
Kicked out of private school. He had 180 write-ups.
Yes.
In the 8th and 9th grade.
Yes.
So 90 in 8th grade, 90 in 9th grade, roughly. I'm not saying we didn't count them, but 180 for 2 years. And military school, he got kicked out. He violated a cadet's pillow, tattooed cadets. He went AWOL. They found him 10 o'clock that night, had to bring him back, had another cadet with him.
Yep.
Yes.
He ignored great-grandma's curfew. Shows up at 5 o'clock, drunk, belligerent.
After she had to call the cops to get him to come home.
Drunk and belligerent.
Yes.
He's stolen money from his grandfather, stole money from his friend's grandfather.
The friend's grandmother, they took the debit card and went together. I mean, it was the both of them.
$200, $300.
Right. This is all within the last week.
Okay. Now, a lot of this doesn't have anything to do with the two of you. You're not present for some of this.
Yes, sir.
So it's not situation specific to you. It's not in direct response to something you're saying or doing.
No, sir.
That's interesting. Coming up, Cole says his parents are the ones with the problem. He says he doesn't have anger issues at all. Well, we're going to hear what he has to say when Cole gets his chance to talk coming up. We'll be right back.
My dad will not listen to my side at all. His idea of discipline is physical punishment.
You're psychotic.
Half the stuff that I do, I mean, it's stupid, but it's not anything that another person wouldn't do.
And later...
Yes, I yell, and she yells back. And she smacks me all the time. I have never laid a hand on her. And I didn't want to leave on Christmas, and he pushed me down the stairs.
About 3 months ago, we noticed Colton carrying around a flare gun. I do not know where he got it. The end of the flare gun looked like a real pistol, and that's what scared me. Do you remember this school shooting in Florida?
Today's shooting in Parkland is now the 8th deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history.
The 19-year-old suspect is a former student who was expelled last year.
The first thing that came to my mind was Colton.
Well, Lena says her son has been kicked out of 3 homes and 3 schools, including military school. His dad, Josh, says his son has violent outbursts and 0 remorse. But Cole says he doesn't understand why his parents want to paint him as the bad guy. Take a look at this tape.
My parents were too strict when I was living home. They started grounding me for like stuff that wasn't even my fault. When I don't meet an expectation, they have unreasonable punishment. I yell at my mom when we get in arguments. We both trigger each other. Once I turned like 14, me and my dad started wrestling. It's his way or the highway. That's what it is. His idea of discipline is physical punishment. My dad will not listen to my side at all. He's just pushed me to the point where I'm gonna push back. You pushed me down the stairs.
I did not push you.
You tried to fight me in the front yard. You slapped out of me multiple times in the car.
I have never.
Like, that's not...
What, slapped your
Y'all
arm?
are tripping.
You're psychotic.
I've drank. I smoke weed. I feel like a normal teenager. My parents call the police on me a lot. Way too much. Half the stuff that I do, I mean, it's stupid, but it's not anything that another person wouldn't do. When they kicked me out, I wasn't following the rules. My grandparents' house was great. I had my own guest house, but before I got there, they put a baby monitor in there so they could listen to my conversations and watch me. I don't deserve to be spied on because I've never taken a dime from anybody in that family. When I'm out on the street, I feel confident in myself because I know that I could support myself. If anything came to it, I could do it.
Okay, first, I want to hear y'all's response to what he just said on tape.
Colton he's a compulsive liar. He lies about everything.
The only physical thing that's ever happened, honestly, like where it's gotten physical, is he got in my face Christmas morning, told me he wasn't doing anything I told him. He wasn't going to do anything we asked him to do. He wasn't going to abide by the rules. And he got in my face and he put his hands on me. At that time, I bear hugged him and walked him down the stairs and set him downstairs outside. He turned around and said, "You're lucky, old man, I don't beat your butt." And then he ran out.
What do you think jumps out to me from that tape?
I feel like he thinks he's an adult and he could go and do whatever he wants, come and go when he wants.
It's okay and normal for him to go smoke pot and drink beer.
Right, his reality is what I think is skewed.
Well, two things jumped out at me. One, when you lean into your son and say, "You're psychotic."
Because he does some crazy psychotic
things. Just hear what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
You lean in and say, "You're psychotic." And you say, when I hear of the worst mass shooter in the history of the country, I think of you, son.
I didn't tell.
We didn't say that.
I didn't tell.
No, I'm just saying what I heard on the tape.
No, but I didn't tell that
to
to
the
Colton.
people. Yes.
You
They
have
asked
now.
me. Well, I know.
Because
And
he's
they asked
watching
me,
everything we say.
and that's fine. They asked me my feelings. I'm trying to be as truthful as I possibly can.
Okay, that's the way you feel.
Yes, sir.
You think he is psychotic. By the
do.
way, in my opinion, nothing could be further from the truth. And I don't see any overlap between his characteristics and that of a mass shooter.
Maybe that was way wrong. I'm not trying to compare him to a mass killer.
No, you did, comparing to a mass killer.
I did.
And you said he was psychotic. You know, one of the things Colton has said is, they tell me I'm crazy so much, I'm starting to feel like I'm crazy.
We don't tell him it's crazy.
Well, you had him Marchman acted.
That was because
abuse.
alcohol and substance abuse, right? And he was.
And continued to
he
happen.
said
That he was going to continue to do those things.
we did. We had a Marchman Act. We're frustrated. We have been through doctors. We're trying to find him help,
But that
and not
doesn't
just
make
him
it
help.
right. That doesn't make it right. I mean, what is the message that's sent to the kid?
You probably tell yourself you're crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and who did it to you? Well, your parents.
Right.
All right, coming up, we're going to find out what Cole's former teachers had to say about him. We'll be right back.
While Colton was at the military school, he fabricated a tattoo gun out of a nose hair trimmer and a safety clip and tattooed himself and 8 other cadets. Colton got in trouble for doing the tattoos. A lot of parents were very angry that their kids had been tattooed. Fortunately, they decided not to press charges. Colton is basically uncontrollable.
And later,
Colton has a tendency to tell a lot of tall tales. We abuse him all the time. We starve him. Don't let him have water. I mean...
Okay, hold on. Do you have any words of encouragement?
I do most of the disciplining in the house. Colton's might have got spanked 4 or 5 times in his whole entire life living in that house. Discipline hasn't worked for at least the last year. It actually just gets worse. Lena doesn't really have a backbone. Lena gives in because she doesn't want to deal with all the stress, and we have other kids that need our attention, and sometimes it's easier to look the other way, but it's gotten out of control.
What is your ownership in how he is?
I mean, my ownership is that I've been too much of a pushover. But when we're calling and asking people for help, that's pretty much what they're saying. Like, you just have to let him break the law so that way he can go to jail and learn the hard way.
That or hurt somebody.
It seems like you're trying to get other people to raise your son.
No.
Well, unfortunately, there was so much tension in the house. Like, he would come in.
But he's your child.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
But I have to protect my other 2 boys as well.
And I'm not saying that you don't, and that may come down to the choice you have to make.
Right.
I'm very pragmatic, but who's really raising Cole? Now, according to you, in 2015, in August, he goes to private school, and he's kind of taken under the principal's wing. She kind of took him under her wing. 2017, September, great-grandmother, police called. October, kicked out of private school, police called. December, returns to parents for a week and a half. Ran away to a friend's house, police called. Christmas Day, police called. Mental health facility, Marchman acted. 2018, January, military school, AWOL, kicked out, police called. February, mental health facility, Baker acted. February, grandmother. March, couch surfing. I mean, who's raising this kid?
Well, he's
trying to raise himself. He acts like he doesn't
off.
need anybody to raise him. He thinks he's raised.
Well, the teacher's statement regarding Cole, according to school reports, the most immature kid I have ever had in any class in 25 years. He is so rude and disrespectful. Yesterday, he was not here. I had no problem in my class. Today, it was terrible. He makes it difficult for me to do my job. Cole is the single most disruptive student I have ever experienced. I am truly tired of Cole and his behavior. The commandant at the military school said this child is incorrigible and unteachable.
But he won't take, like when we would get those notes home and we would say, Colton, what happened at school today? Oh, it wasn't my fault. The teacher's stupid. The teacher lied. He will never take responsibility.
No responsibility.
So,
it's always somebody else's fault.
Okay, but what is your ownership? You've got different educational institutions saying you have delivered to me the most disruptive, incorrigible, and teachable student I have ever encountered. Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they're saying to you, and I'm wanting to know what you have done to create that. You can't say it's all him.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is last year, if you would have met him, he will yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, you to death. It's just when he wants...
Okay, what does that tell you?
We've been doing something wrong.
What it should tell you is that is within his repertoire of behavior. He has the ability to be appropriate.
I believe that.
He turns it on and off like a light switch.
And he's smart.
Then how can you look at him and say you're psychotic?
Because
I guess it's just frustrating.
Because psychotics cannot do that.
Because the
we're
zero...
not doctors.
Well,
we don't know what the difference between a psychotic
then don't use doctor terms.
I apologize. But the zero remorse...
Not to me, to him.
The zero remorse, the abusing of his mother and his other brother, the verbal abuse, zero, has no care. I mean...
Most kids would come to you after they're not mad anymore and say, Mom, I'm sorry I called you dumb and stupid. That's not something he has ever done.
He laughs about it and thinks it's funny.
Uses it against me
And to me,
later.
yes, that seems a little... Maybe wrong term, yes,
I feel like there's something wrong with his brain.
Do you know what
like
psychotic means?
Imbalance or something.
Apparently not what I said.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to sit here and...
I'm not going to give you a test. I'm not going to grade it. But I don't think you really know what that means. I think you mean something else.
I know he's not happy.
I think really what you mean is antisocial personality disorder. I think what you mean is you have no remorse, you don't have any guilt, you exploit people, you're very selfish, you're narcissistic, you don't care about anybody but yourself, you make up your own rules, you comply with nothing.
Yes, sir.
That a little more accurate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it was that we did wrong. I mean, maybe we didn't hug him enough. I don't know.
I keep asking you, what is your ownership and you keep telling me what's wrong with him. I keep asking you, what is your ownership in this child arriving at the point he has arrived developmentally, and you keep telling me what's wrong with him? You're being non-responsive to the question.
I just don't know what it was that we did wrong. I mean, maybe we didn't hug him enough. I don't know. We always spent time with him.
Should I draw a parallel here?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Because you say he has no insight, right? No empathy, no remorse?
No, none. None.
And I'm asking you to examine yourselves and tell me what I can change among you guys. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking you for self-examination. You're showing no insight, no self-examination, and no empathy for how he might look at you as parents. And all you're doing is telling me what's wrong with him.
Well, maybe I need help to learn how to deal with it better.
Oh, hell yes. We all do. I mean, come on, parenting's not easy, right?
I'm not.
You want a new tool belt.
I'm not sitting here saying I was perfect, I was this, I was that. I don't know what to do.
No, you're sitting here telling me what's wrong with him. Neither one of you have said, in the time we've been here, neither one of you have said, Dr. Phil, what can I do better to guide this young man through his life? What can I do better?
What can you do to help me do a better job for my son? I just want my son back. I really do. I want my family back together as a whole. Whatever
so your
I
question is what?
What can you help me? How can you help me help him?
It's currency. Everybody has a currency. Do you know what I mean? There's all kinds of currency. There's monetary currency, there's emotional currency, social currency, spiritual currency, recognition, acknowledgement. There's all kinds of currency. And if you understand someone's currency and you regulate that currency, then you can regulate that person's behavior. Let's say, for example, that I have control of your oxygen supply.
Yes, sir.
This is extreme, but just to make an example. Let's say I have a control of your oxygen supply, and I have to hit a button every 30 seconds or you're without air.
Right.
You wouldn't want me wandering very far off, would you?
No, sir.
Because if it comes time to push that button and I'm down in the break room getting a Dr. Pepper, you're like, get back here, because that's your currency. You need that to live. Everybody has a currency. It's a matter of finding out what it is. And you know what I think the problem is, a big problem with Colton?
What's that?
I don't think he knows what it is.
We don't either.
I don't think he knows. You know, people can get away from home with one of two motivations. They're either running towards something or they're running away from something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you see a lot of kids get married young, not because they're running towards a spouse, but because they're running away from home.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't think he's running towards anything. I'm getting ready to ask him, what do you want? Because he's like running away. He hasn't noticed no one's chasing him.
We've asked that.
Well, I'm going to ask that in a different way. Coming up, Josh says his son just lies. He has a feeling that Cole's going to lie to me. I'm pretty good at that, about spotting that, and I don't think Cole wants to lie to me, because I'm going to appeal to his greed, because I just want to know what he wants and how I can help him get it. We'll be right back.
I know Colton's the one to lie to Dr. Phil. He's lied to every single person that we've tried getting him help with. Cool, calm, collected, and just lie and lie and lie and lie. I hope Dr. Phil can see through it and see the truth and help my son.
Well, I'm all right. I've been out talking to your parents, and I asked them to keep that live in here so you could hear every word.
Yes, sir.
Anything to say about what we've been talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say all of it's a lie, but a lot of that was over-exaggerated or lying.
Okay.
The thing about me keeping a knife under my pillow all the time, no. I have a knife on my nightstand, and I slept with a knife under my bed maybe twice. And my big problem is they're being hypocritical, because they're saying that I'm such a bad kid because I smoke weed and do all this other stuff when they do the same exact stuff. They smoke weed. My dad said the only time it's ever gotten physical is on Christmas when I put my hands on him. I never put my hands on him. He was trying to get me to go downstairs because I wouldn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave on Christmas, and he pushed me down the stairs, and that's when I put my hands on him, when he pushed me down the stairs. Mm-hmm. And they're always saying that I was getting up in my mom's face and screaming at her and stuff. I don't get in her face. Yes, I yell, and she yells back, and she smacks me all the time. I have never laid a hand on her.
I see at public school, you don't get along. At private school, you don't get along. Mm-hmm. At a different private school, you don't get along. At military school, you don't get along. Yep. Back at public school, you don't get along. So I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 situations where you don't get along. The common denominator is you. Yeah. The only thing that's the same in all these situations that break down is you. Your 10-year-old brother gave us a statement.
Yes.
Here's what he had to say. He said, when Cole's mad with my parents, he treats everyone terrible. He tries to ignore me and tell me to go away. He tries to avoid me as much as possible. He hurts my feelings sometimes. I asked if he wanted to play football, and he slammed the door in my face. He says hurtful things about my parents. He cusses and calls them names. I really want him to change. What do you think about that?
I feel bad. I mean, I've been mean to him, but, I mean, now that I've been away from him for a while, when I was living with him, it's just a little brother thing, you know? They annoy you, you don't want to be hanging out with them, but, I mean, I miss him, and I've been away from him for a long time, and, I mean, now I'm looking at everything that I've done to him, and, I mean, I've done some mean stuff to him, but it's just like, it's not anything that brothers wouldn't do. It's a brother argument, you know what I mean? And I know he's younger than me and everything else, but sometimes the stuff that I say to him, it's not really like I'm calling him names or anything. I'm just trying to tell him, like, listen, you need to kind of man up.
Are you being a good role model for him? You're getting written up in school, you're getting kicked out, you're getting suspended.
I'm not.
Do you want him to do what you're doing?
No, that's like the thing. I don't want, they're raising them the same way they're raising me. My littlest brother, I feel like he's going to be exactly like me.
Okay, so what do you want?
I want to be able to live with my brothers, basically, until I'm 16.
Mm-hmm. And what are you going to do at 16?
I'm going to try to get emancipated.
Mm-hmm. Well, you understand, in your state, to be emancipated, you have to show a level of maturity to have your minority restrictions removed.
Yes, sir.
So if you present a record that you've been written up 180 times, kicked out of military school, poor attendance records or poor academics, they won't even entertain it. They won't even hear it, because you'll have to file with attached records. And they'll look at the records and say he's not a candidate.
To get emancipated, I'm going to have to do good in school for the rest of the time until I get to that point, and I'm going to have to work on being more mature and proving stability.
Do you have the ability to regulate your emotions?
Yes, I do. And
so you're just choosing not to when you're with your parents?
When me and my parents get together, we're always butting heads.
So why would anyone predict that moving home would work?
I'm not predicting that moving home would work. I want to move home so I can be with my little brothers. If
you're not willing to work on repairing the relationship with your parents, then you predict that it won't work. They predict that it won't work. So everybody's got to be willing to try something different. And if you're not, then I don't recommend to them that they work towards bringing you back home. We're going to take a break here. I'm going to ask Cole to join me on stage, and we're going to talk to his parents about, is there a way to do a fresh start here, and what's necessary? We'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with Josh, Lena, and their son Cole. I've been backstage talking with Cole. You guys have been listening to what we talked about. What are y'all's comments here?
He likes to tell a lot of tall tales. I guess I could say I made the mistake to try to relate to Colton a couple years ago. Explained to him, when I was young, yeah, I smoked some pot. I did that because he got caught smoking pot. And I wanted to try to relate to him. And we come to a common ground, and let's, not do that again and move on. And ever since then, it's just, he throws it back in our face. It's just, oh, they smoke dope, they do this, they do that. The resource officer, he told him we abuse them all the time. We starve them.
Don't let them have water.
Don't let them have water. I mean...
Okay, hold on. Let me call time out here. Do you have any words of encouragement or anything positive to say
I was very
anything positive to say, or are you just all bitter?
No, I was very happy to hear him say that, he misses his brothers. He's never said that to us before. He's never acknowledged that he's mistreated him. He would always just deny that. So I'm glad that he was honest with you about those things.
I want to go see my brothers. That's my main thing. I mean,
the conversation last night, you did not want to come home. You didn't want any of that. You didn't want nothing to do with it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's my main reason. I have 2 months until I can try to get emancipated. And like I told Mom last night, like, the easiest thing y'all could do is just sign the paperwork and let it happen. Or I'm just going to keep on trying, or it's just not going to be.
But like Dr. Phil just told you, it's not about us signing a paper.
Right.
Exactly, but I can prove that I can be stable, and it's not going to be, if it's one of those things where I prove all this stuff and then y'all don't want to sign the papers and I have to do all that.
I'm not out here to be a right fighter. I don't want to fight you whether you're right or you're right, but I want you to be able to finish high school and be happy and get rid of your anger issues that you have, and for us to be able to have a normal relationship. That is all.
So you were saying the things you're doing is rational, and that's...
You don't have any anger issues?
No, I don't have any anger
But everything that you've done is
us.
rational, right? This is serious, son.
Don't you want to be happy?
I am happy.
You are happy? You're happy, couch surfing, going, you're not...
It's better than being stuck in my room all the time and getting yelled at all the time and get lectured and yelled at and then kicked out, and then you have to lie to the police.
So we're not supposed to punish you at all for the 90 times that you've
I'm not saying don't punish me, but your punishments are unreasonable.
When we come back, I'm going to say what I think needs to happen here, and we're going to make a decision one way or another. I'll be right back.
I have written to Dr. Phil over 100 times for help with my son. I love him so much, and I wish he wasn't so mad at me. The reason that I'm doing all of these things is to help him, because I don't want him to end up in jail.
I'm here so I can come home. I miss my brothers a lot.
My wife and I are at our wits' end. I don't know what else to do.
You can't do this on your own. You need some serious professional help.
Yes, sir. That's
and I don't think he should move in right now. I don't think that. I think you need to do one of two things. One is, I'm willing to get you a family counselor.
Sir.
I mean, somebody that will seriously sit down and make a family plan and do this a baby step at a time.
Yes.
He needs to know how to pump the brake when he gets an impulse. He needs to, and if you want what you want, if you really do want to be emancipated and get out of what you think is a dysfunctional situation where you're treated more harshly than your brothers and there is hypocrisy and things you can't live with, then okay, you've got to do some things to qualify for a different lifestyle. And I've told you what those are, and I'm going to help you do that. And that may be your best situation here. I don't know. You've got 2 children to think of. You've got this one to think of. I'm just being practical. I'm being pragmatic here. If it can't work that way, then let's support an alternative here. We're joined now by the owners of Wingate Wilderness, Shane and his wife, Sherry Gallagher. Hi, guys. Good to see you. Wingate Wilderness Therapy is one of the best wilderness programs in the entire country. They work with struggling teens and young adults, for that matter. And they work therapeutically, educationally. They deal with trauma. They deal with all sorts of things for kids. And it's a perfect fit for you if you want to call time out and hit the reset button for yourself and get yourself reconfigured while I'm intensively working with them as a timeout. When we're done here, I'm going to ask you all to sit down and talk with these folks. Y'all think you could help him, right?
Absolutely. Cole, this is the word reboot or restart is a perfect description of what this could be for you. I actually think you would really enjoy it. There's boys out there. I can come out and myself teach you a lot of primitive skills, how to make fire with sticks and how to do a lot of really cool things. But it's not just that, it's learning how you can accomplish your goals. Young people have goals, you have goals. A lot of them have been articulated. What we'd like to help you do is work on your relationship with your parents, that all 3 of you can communicate, even though you'll be in the wilderness, in a very authentic ways, and help you get to the goals that you want.
And I thought about this because how much you like the outdoors and hunting and fishing and all that sort of thing. And I'm offering it as an alternative. I absolutely would not want you to do it if you didn't really want to. So I'm not asking you guys to enforce that. I'm not asking you to compel him to do it, because I don't want you guys to be in a situation where he's there if he doesn't want to be there. So I want you to be an active participant in making some of these decisions. Fair enough?
Sure.
Okay? All right. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thank you to Shane and his wife, Sherry, and all of the folks at Wingate Wilderness. There'll be a link for that, by the way, on drphil.com. It is really an interesting outcome when you see some of these kids unplugged from the internet, unplugged from all these social media platforms, unplugged from their cliques and their circles, and get out there and focus on themselves just in God's country. For more information about today's show, log on to drphil.com. Tell us what you think on Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time.
This situation is unique for you. Dr. Phil made it clear that it was entirely up to you.
Our program is different than most wilderness programs. We're about who are you as a person, where do you want to go, how can we help you get there?
Why don't you think about it for a few minutes, okay? It's decision time.
I'm kind of leaning towards going home, honestly. I kind of want to talk to my parents and see what's happening when I get home.
It's not good for you to come home right now. All of us need to come to a common ground.
I know you don't want to just be sent away. I do think it would be a good time for you to just think about yourself and which way you want your life to go.
I'm going home.
What he's worried about is going home to hang out with friends and his plans for this weekend.
I hope you have a plan that if certain things go a certain way, that you will stop yourself.
I don't think it's going to benefit me as much as going home.
I don't think I wanna meet someone basketball. Every time you're around, boy, you make me feel so small. Is this how love's supposed to be? 'Cause I've been told many other stories. No one's ever treated me the way you did. No, no. I don't think I wanna meet someone like you again. For what you've done, you cannot even make any amends. Told me lies and denied that you were with her the other night. Why should I stand in line just to spend with you some time?